in private banking. I deal a lot with Islamic, and as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't really make that much difference. To me, the Islamic financial model as it stands, and as the normal Western sort of models are, there's not really that much difference. They've just packaged it up. They've just they've called it something. They've called it Islamic finance just so that they can market it to, Muslims, as it were. I think going forward, as you said earlier, the very essence of, Islam, when you actually apply it to a model, but I think that's really, really down to the individuals as well. The individuals that take part in that market, the individuals that actually work within that market need to have the same kind of, the same morals for that to work. I think in essence, you'll always have people with greed. I think there's always going to be, you're always going to have those people that want to take it that one step too far. Okay,
that's a good point. So let's get some more views from the audience. Do you think, he's touched on an important point there about morals. So how do you think that plays itself out?
There's different forms of capitalism. There's an aggressive form of capitalism which is coming out of the States.
Right.
Europeans have a more moderate form of capitalism. We're more interested in workers' rights, the environment, and the profit motive. You can't take that away from the banks. That they're entitled to that, and we live in a meritocracy. But the principle of ethical banking, which you call Islamic banking, or maybe those terms aren't transferable, but I think that's the way forward, and that's all I can say, really.
We're going to be wrapping up the program shortly. I just want to get some views from you guys in the audience. We've had a good in-depth discussion here. How have you felt about it? What have you taken out of it? What role do you think we play as individuals in all of this? Naeem, how have you taken on? Obviously, you were saying before you're not from a finance background, but how do you think we can look into the future? How can we make the most of it as individuals?
I think sort of the answer to my question, I think, sort of laid the foundation for that. Lessons have to be learned, and also they have to be not only learned, but as you say, internalized. That is to say that we understand that right from us simpletons down here, all the way up into the big sort of financial chiefs. Every action has a consequence. The motive behind your action also has a consequence.
Right.
So it's just,
Okay, all right.
That's simply what I understand.
Yeah, that's fine. Nasir, any final comments as well?
I think what I felt strongly was that the banking panel members were doing a really good job of defending themselves, and often they were sort of referring to the regulators, that they need to be putting in place certain, rules and procedures so that these things don't happen again. I do agree with that, but because I used to work in the banking sector as well, and I actually used to work in the credit risk department, and then I left when the banking crisis happened.
Yeah. You left at a good time. Yeah.
But what I was going to say is I know from my experience there that a lot of the way that the structure of the banks works, and the sort of mentality of the bankers and the investors there, is that they're put under huge amounts of pressure. And I don't think a lot of them appreciate the implications of the things that they're actually doing. So the investments they're making in these vast amounts of money, a lot of them don't actually sit back and think, hang on, how's this going to impact across the rest of the world when I click this button? Because that's all they're doing. Nowadays it's just literally you're pressing buttons to make huge amounts of investment. And I think there is more implication that needs to be appreciated, and as well as what was being said in the audience, in terms of ourselves as well, we need to now step back and see how can we make things better as well.
Okay.
But it's
let's get one more view through. Just some concluding remarks. How can we actually influence what's been happening as individuals?
I think it's very difficult to influence what's happening. Unfortunately, I'm a bit more pessimistic than a lot of people here. I think, we live in a global financial system, which is an interest-based system. Unfortunately, that encourages a type of behavior which is cyclical, the kind of boom and bust type economies that we've seen. And I think there'll be a period where people will tighten up, regulators will come in, regulation will increase. But unfortunately, as time goes by, people will lose sight of what's already happened and will, unfortunately come into another period of crisis. And we've talked about the Islamic banking system, which is, obviously an ideal model, but it's very difficult to have an Islamic banking system which sits on top of this kind of global financial system that we're already sitting in. So, we've discussed kind of briefly that they have all these structures which tick these boxes to meet the Islamic requirements, but I'm not sure it's really a truly Islamic banking system.
Okay, all right, thanks. We're just going to be wrapping up the discussion from now. Rashid, if you could just give us some concluding remarks. let's look to the future. What lessons can we learn and how can we implement this in the future?
I think, it's very important that, let's talk about, the financial institution, the bank, as long as the interests of these stakeholders, who are the stakeholders? The clients of the bank, the employees of the bank, the management, the shareholders, the public by large. If the interest of all the stakeholders are taken in account, then I think there's a bit of moderation, there's a bit of balance, and that was not really happening. So if the banks grow responsibly, reasonably, and the stakeholders' interests are safeguarded, then we'll find that we will not have these issues going forward. But if just few stakeholders' interests are safeguarded and rest are all sort of ignored, then we will have similar situations.
Okay, Reveal Saab, taking it back to throughout the whole discussion, our core element has been materialism and greed as well. So can you just give us a few?
Well, I think that though very difficult it is, but I think we should try to reset the priorities of society, of what is real priorities, also real necessities of society to live and to prosper. And without all these mirages of which I was talking, because it's of course no good when the greats, say in this music, the greats of the 60s would never receive so much money as now any X Factor competitor receives. Okay. It's no good.
Okay. So
I think very brief, I can't reiterate enough. I think, as times change, requirements change, materialistic needs change, children's ideals change, but the fundamental thing should be live within your means. It was always going to be out of our individuals' control of what the big corporations do. Unless we don't run a big corporation, you can never control their actions.
So it sounds like there's a shared responsibility between governments, institutions, and individuals.
The big picture is, in terms of, we all have a right to vote. We all have a right to who to vote in and who not to vote in. That's another subject altogether. But in terms of making change, the only change that we can make is the colleagues that we work with, whether it's in institutions or manufacturers, etc., etc. You could be a car maker, and the same thing could be you've made so many cars that you can't sell anymore now. Why did you make so many cars in the first place? So it's supply and demand. Okay. So I would just say, the moral of the story is live within your means, and when things do change for the better, we should heed our lessons from this crisis.
Okay. All right. Thank you to all our guests here in the panel as well, and the audience as well. Obviously, we want to hear what you think as well. Don't forget, you can always get in touch with us. We've had a really good discussion here, and it seems that us as consumers, we have to make sure we don't become consumed by greed as well. Our website address is www.mta.tv/realtalk. You can email us on realtalk@mta.tv, and also we've got a Twitter page as well, so you can stay in touch and find out what programs we'll be having in the future as well. So once again, thank you to everyone here. Thank you for watching. Unfortunately, we've run out of time, but I hope you join me again next time for more Real Talk.
Going through life is trial and error, so we're not always going to make the right choices in the beginning, but through the course of the interchange and the experiences, we get to know, and then we should make the right choices based on our knowledge.
So that's friends, but what about specifically when you're working in groups, you're doing college work or something, you have to work with boys and girls as well, so how do you balance that out?
I think it depends on you as a person, how strong you are, how strong your faith is. If you keep up with your 5 daily prayers, that way your mind stays with God.
Join me for real stories, real issues, and real views. This is Real Talk.